There's a silent epidemic of depressed young men right now, and no one is talking about it. You might see it in your son, or if you're watching this, it might be yourself too. So stay tuned if you want to know how to fix it. If you're new here, my name is Agam Dewan. I'm a child, adolescent, and adult psychiatrist, and it's my job to help moms help connect with their sons and help them with their mental health. And so I want to talk about something that we don't see enough, which is there's a growing wave of young guys, young men who are feeling purposeless, motivationless, don't want to do anything, just want to stay in their rooms and feel like that there is no point to life and existence. And I've been seeing it in my practice for the last 6 months, and I'm wondering, where is this coming from? Like this wasn't a thing that any of my professors talked about. It's not a thing that I saw very often in my residency either. And so it's not just a mental health issue, but it's a cultural one. So recently, in just my practice a couple days ago, I saw this 16-year-old kid, and the parents say that he has been doing well to up until age 12, in which case he just started slowly withdrawing, not caring about stuff, just isolating in his room, mainly just gaming and playing on his phone. There's some functional or neurologic disorder component is there as well. So he sometimes gets problems walking. And so when I'm talking with this kid, he basically just says, yeah, I've been putting on a mask for the last couple years, but now I don't care anymore. There's no point in living. I don't really want to die, but what's the point? We're all going to die eventually. I don't really want to go to school. I don't want a girlfriend. I don't really want to hang out with my family. I just want to stay here and play games. That's all he wants to do. And it's really hard to get him motivated to do anything. He's at risk of dropping out of school. And so that's when the mom came to me, because she's like, please try to help out my kid. He doesn't want to take any medications, doesn't want any kind of supplements. He's tried various, a CBT therapy. He tried maybe one or two meds that didn't make much of a difference for him. And so, that's just one kid. I have another kid, 18, 19 years old, and basically he thinks that, okay, there's no point in stuff. The world is going to end. And what's the point of him existing? That he's overwhelmed. He eats healthy, but he pretty much just sits there at home all the time. I have another kid, a 20-year-old, and same kind of thing. He has OCD, but he's just isolating himself. He just games. He doesn't want to take any meds for it. He's in EMDR therapy, but he feels like that's not helping. He's not very motivated to take his supplements. He's not really sure what he wants to do. And there's so many, I just see all of these cases again and again. It's always these young guys, age 16 to maybe 21, that I keep seeing over and over. They're just detached, they're not bothering anyone, they're just living in their parents' house, and they come from good families too. It's not like it's the broken families or whatever. It's more like mom and dad are there, they're together, well-educated households. Everyone, actually, it's all been like that. They all have the same kind of pattern, which is kind of shocking. They're just not dreaming, they're just existing. Nothing for their future. And the story has always been the same, that they were bright, young, motivated when they were 11, 12, and then slowly things just started shifting. And I think that's what's heartbreaking, because they didn't start out that way, and just slowly over time, the anhedonia, the purposelessness, right, social rejection, all the overstimulation, I think that's a big part. We'll get to that. And just part of a culture that doesn't make them feel like they're wanted or have any purpose is some of the reasons. So, a big reason is that young men are just losing their purpose. They're kind of told, okay, you have to go to school, you have to sit quietly, do what they're told, right? Guys tend to be more adventurous. They want to be venturing out, doing other things, but now they're just told, okay, you kind of go through the system here, right? And guys are also told that there's no point in being a man or being masculine. You should just be more understanding and caring and just kind of more androgynous with women. That's the narrative that's being pushed. And so I think a lot of guys are kind of feeling that's what's the point even. So there's just no purpose anymore. It's harder and harder for guys to find their purpose. Before, purpose was given, okay, you had to take care of your family, or you had to go and work to provide for the family. You start off at the fields at age 13, or whatever, you help out with the family business. But now it's just kind of they're just kind of going through life numbed, and then being told, okay, this is the path, you go to college. But if the guy doesn't want to do that, then there's no reason or rationale for them to find their path. For example, I know that when I was in high school, at least for me, the expectation was pretty clear. I had to go to college. I just knew that was going to happen. It wasn't like my parents forced me or anything, but I just knew that that's where my life was going to take me. And then when I was in college, I just knew that I had to be successful, right? Because I wanted greater things for myself. And when I think back to it, like, I'm not sure where that purpose came from. I went to college 10 years ago, but some of it was there. I felt like I had to strive to become better. And I'm not sure why or how that was at that time, but that's how I felt. And a lot of guys don't feel this way anymore. I think another thing is that was different back then is that now there's constant comparison. Guys are constantly being shown on social media. There's always guys who are more jacked, more rich, more popular with girls. You see that in social media and also in real life as well too. Guys who are more famous, and so you have that comparison aspect, and then compare it. Now it's even easier to escape away from that stuff. Like before, it was harder to hide away. Now it's so easy. And the reason no one's talking about it is because it doesn't bother anybody. Like you can literally just sit at home, waste away, and like, you're not bothering anyone. It's different from the addictions of the past, which is alcohol, right? That people definitely see that it's more social. It can cause consequences like drunk driving, smoking, cigarettes. That's more obvious. Vaping, which is a new one now. But like, even marijuana, right? Like a lot of it's gone down in this population. Like all this population that I have of these young guys, just non-motivated, not doing anything, like none of them really use any substances. And that's the scary thing about it, is because the stuff they do use doesn't bother anyone. And then the other thing is that all this overstimulation is just hijacking the brains. So porn, video games, all of those just spike massive amounts of dopamine. And so when you engage in that stuff too much, what ends up happening is that the person has no motivation for real life. Like, why would I feel motivated to succeed in this real world where it's hard when I could just do it in the virtual world and get achievements and trophies, and it's way easier? So it's really important, Mom, that you understand this dynamic. What happens with porn and video games is they just spike dopamine. And so because they spike dopamine is our motivation neurotransmitter and our reward. But then dopamine, you build a tolerance to it pretty easily. And so what happens is that these things build a crazy amount of tolerance. And so because they build crazy tolerance, then there's a lot less motivation to do anything, to do stuff in real life that'll give dopamine, because like real life stuff will give this much dopamine compared to like video game stuff. So that's what I know, that on days I need to be productive, I really need to keep my dopamine consumption low, like low video games, low phone use, low this stimulation, because then the task I need to accomplish, like let's say I need to record videos, or I need to work on scripting for my business, or need to work on my ads, or I need to say patience, then that's going to give me more of a positive feeling than if I just like overindulge in dopamine. Also, there's emotional isolation, so that's a big thing too. These are all teenage population, right? So this is when they're feeling the most emotional. But guys are also told that they need to suppress things, right? They need to be more strong, be more masculine, and it's just not in our culture to be expressing stuff. So it's better, like, then they go to the video games, because that's a good way to numb things. Like even I remember maybe like a couple weeks ago, so I'd lost my job. It kind of happened all of a sudden. And so when that happened, I remember, I think that the next day, like I remember just, if I had negative feelings, like I would just scroll through my phone, and that helped me numb through it. And then eventually I said, no, I need to channel it, and I need to focus on doing something productive with these feelings. But a lot of these guys, all their negative feelings, is not being channeled towards something productive. It's just being numbed. So, so now as a mom, right, what can you do? How can you help your son break free? So there's 5 things that you can do. One is that stop asking him what's wrong with him, because I always see that, like, for example, this mom says, okay, he doesn't want to do anything. He's not the happy boy I knew. What's wrong with him? What's wrong? And start asking instead, like, what happened to him? Why is this happening? Trying to understand him, understand his perspective. He's just disoriented. Think of him like a car that has no direction. Well, if this car has no direction or any goal to set, then like you can just accelerate here and there. You can just kind of aimlessly wander the streets, but you're not going to get to a goal. So really start trying to connect with him there, because I think that's where you'll notice that biggest difference. So you also want to create an environment where you can just talk without any kind of judgment. Like, especially the questions that you ask him, if you're able to ask him open questions, just try to understand his perspective, some of the struggles that he's going through. Like, I remember when I was a teenager, I didn't talk to my parents about anything. Like, I remember this one guy invited me to a party and I wanted to go, but I was like, parents are going to say no, but I was also scared to go. Like, I didn't talk to them about that. I remember there's a girl I wanted to ask out to prom. prom, but then like some other guy ended up asking her. So I went by myself. Like I didn't talk to them about that. I remember there's a girl in the locker room next to me. Her boyfriend would always meet her after their first period class, and then he would kiss her at their locker, and he would always like do this like like the classic where like you bend her backwards and like the movie kind of kiss. And I remember seeing that. I was like 16, and I was like, oh man, like I wish this could have been me. Like those kind of feelings, right? Like I never talked to them with anyone, so I went into a little bit games too. But then I remember in college I was like, no, I'm gonna change this. Like I can't live life like this anymore, and then made a conscious effort to change. But if he never makes that switch, then he'll just be stuck in that first phase forever and ever. And so you helping connect with him is going to help him make that switch. Another thing you want to do is you want to help him build small wins. So don't start with like, okay, like fix your life, stop gaming, get out, get a job, right? I have an adult patient, 25 years old, who's going through the same thing. So with him, we just focus on, okay, let's just start one thing at a time, lifting weights, or for him, it was cooking. So now he's going to be starting to cook a little bit more of his meals too, waking him up early, maybe like even like reading a couple of little passages. And so as he starts to have these small victories, like really encourage him. So for example, I told the mom of this 25-year-old patient, I'm like, okay, whenever he gets up and cooks for himself, like really encourage that, because now you're encouraging that behavior to get out of that place. So that's super, super important. The other thing that you can do is help him find a community, some kind of brotherhood. So, young guys, they always need leadership. They need role models to look up to, right? Because if you look up to someone and you believe that you can get there, or you want your life to be like them, then that can motivate you for action, because you see that it provides hope. So that's why a lot of figures like Andrew Tate have blown up, because they provide that lifestyle. It's the reason why a lot of young guys voted for Donald Trump. So I have other videos on this, is because of that. It's the reason that a lot of guys are gaming now too, because for gaming it's a big social thing for them. So imagine if you have a kid who's all by themselves in school, like they're not a footballer, they're not cool or popular or whatever, then if they go to the virtual world, they can connect and play with other people who like might value them. So really trying to help him find this connection on his own can be super, super helpful. And so, you can help him find people in the area. Maybe there's some kind of club meetup, or encourage him to go to a robotics club. Even one of my patients, he's going to a retro video game club. He's a 24-year-old male with autism. And I was like, that's amazing, because now at least he's getting some social interaction. He's not just sitting at home isolating. So like there, he's kind of channeling that video game, but then also making a social thing out of it too. For example, one of the most fun things I remember I did in college was me and my buddy, we started this Pokemon club, where it started with us two just getting together and playing Pokemon on our DSs together. And then we got some other people into it. We'd meet up like once every couple weeks, and there'd be like 4 or 5 of us just in the room together playing DSs. Then we started playing like a Pokemon board game together, and like having regular meetups, and it was fun. And it was a fun way to enjoy our hobby, but also in a social context too. So that can be something to do as well. And then tying into that is just helping him find role models. That's why a lot of moms actually come to me, because they're like, okay, I want you to see my son regularly. I want you to be a role model for him. And so, because mentorship is what changes lives, right? Like I've had mentors in psychiatry who've taught me, and now I'm mentoring people, like now through this channel, through my other social media. People reach out because they want to learn from me. I have younger guys who reach out in my life, right? Like a younger cousin, or like I joined some dating program, and then I had like, a few young guys who like I talked to there and just kind of mentor. So that's how it works. You mentor people, and then they mentor you, and then you pass it on. So it's the same thing with your son. See if you can find him some older role models who he can look up to, because that, just having that aspirational thing, is going to do more than all the nagging and telling him in the world. Overall, like right now, this is an epidemic. Like there are so many of these cases, these depressed young guys, just nihilistic, the world's not worth it. In Japan, there's like a term, I think it's called hikimori or something. It's in the book of Boys and Men by Richard Reeves. He talks about that, where basically they've checked out of life. And that's why it's so silent, because, they could just kind of waste away and no one really cares. So that's why I'm glad that you're watching this, Mom, is because you care. And, your son can't heal. He just has to figure out his purpose, and he has to figure out a purpose. And, I'll definitely have other videos related to that too, but he needs that support. He needs that guidance. So don't give up on him. And yeah, if you want more personal help with this, then feel free to book a consult. It's in my bio, and then we'll see if we're a good fit to work together.